All right, we're going to be talking about developing a strong second kick in butterfly, and the strategy we're going to use is head up butterfly. This is an important skill because a strong second kick creates speed. You get more propulsion from the legs, you get a big surge when the arms and the legs work together, the finish of the stroke, the finish of the kick all happens together, and that minimizes the impact of the arm recovery and the speed loss that you experience during the arm recovery. When you get that really big surge of propulsion, that can carry swimmers through when they're recovering the arms and they're not doing anything to create propulsion during the arm recovery. It also gets the hips up right before the arm recovery, which is going to make it a lot easier to swing those arms over the surface. That allows for rhythm, that allows for fluidity. If swimmers have to literally pick and drag their arms over the surface, it's going to get really ugly really fast, as we've all seen at the end of a 200 fly. Those swimmers can't get their hips up and things go bad real fast. So for these reasons, having a strong second kick, even over 200-meter races, is really important. Yes, there are exceptions. There are some really good swimmers that don't have a strong second kick. However, these individuals tend to be exceptional in other areas, and that's usually not something we can count on. So I would strongly suggest you try to build powerful second kicks in all your swimmers. The challenge in developing a strong second kick. So butterfly is a rhythm, timing, and power stroke, and it all has to work together to make it happen. And that can create challenges when you're trying to work on a certain component of the stroke. Because it happens fast, you can't really slow it down to get it right, and it's difficult to isolate different components of butterfly because when you do, you completely lose the rhythm and the timing. The other issue is that small errors can have a major impact. So maybe they have a pretty solid second kick, but it's happening 0.3 of a second too late, 0.2 of a second too early, and they just can't find the right timing. And again, that's challenging because you can't really slow butterfly down and give them the opportunity to take their time and feel it out. So you have a situation where it's hard to do because they can't feel where they need to do it, and it's hard to feel because they can't do it. And when you're stuck in this situation where swimmers don't really get it, telling a swimmer to kick just doesn't work because they have no conception of what that means, and it happens too fast for them to do it at the right place, at the right time, with the right intensity. So you're stuck in a situation where you're trying to teach them something that they're really going to struggle to figure out. So to solve that problem, we need another solution. One of my favorite solutions to help swimmers learn a strong second kick is head up butterfly. This is what it looks like. All they're doing, the only change you make, is you have them swim with their head up. Now, let's take a look at why that matters. So, swimming the head up changes the mechanics of the stroke. Lifting the head up pushes the hips down. And when the hips are down, it's going to be a lot more difficult to recover the arms. So that forces swimmers to kick to get their hips up so that they can get their arms out of the water. So they have to kick hard in order to get the hips up. And they have to kick a lot harder than they normally would otherwise. So the drill facilitates change. The sinking hips really encourage strong kicking, and the need to recover the arms also encourages strong kicking. So the swimmers are getting a lot of feedback as to how the hips are dropping and how it's becoming really difficult to get the arms out of the water. And so almost instinctively, they really develop a strong second kick, and they do it at exactly the right time because they have to kick really hard at the right time to get the arms up out of the water. And if they don't, the arms are going to drag through and they're going to know it right away. And so this is a great way to put swimmers in a position, in a situation where they almost have to execute it correctly. You don't necessarily have to tell them what to do, but because of how the drill affects the mechanics of the stroke, swimmers are almost instinctively going to kick in the right way at the right time, and that's ultimately what we're looking for. So how do you make a good drill even better? In this case, we can add drag socks, we can add fins, we can use fins and drag socks, we can have them use resistance, we can add speed, we can have them do the drill and then go into swim. And so all of these different strategies put more pressure on the feet. One, it makes it a little bit more difficult to execute the skill correctly, which is going to force them to work even harder to make it happen. But two, it gives them more feedback as to what's happened. They can feel their feet, they can feel the resistance that they're creating, they can feel the pressure. They can feel the pressure on the water. They can feel when they're kicking effectively, when they have drag socks on, when they have fins on, when they have both on, when they're kicking against resistance. These are all ways to increase the sensory input and help them feel what they're doing. And like I just mentioned, it forces them to work harder to execute the skills. And that's going to be really important. Once they can kind of get the hang of it, now you can start to really train that skill. You can develop the strength and the fitness to execute those kicks. And also, you can learn to make those skills a little bit more resilient because swimmers can execute them in more difficult situations. So once they get the hang of it, don't be afraid to turn it up, make it even more challenging. And once you do, they're going to be well on their way to being able to execute that skill in races when it really matters. So here are two sets using head up butterfly that you can use to develop a strong second kick. So the first set, they're going to go 6 rounds of 425s. The odds are 4 cycles of head up butterfly and then swim. So they're going to go 4 cycles of head up, then right into regular swim the rest of the way. Then the evens are swim. Rounds 1 and 4, it's drag socks and fins. Rounds 2 and 5, it's fins. And rounds 3 and 6, it's no training aids. That way they're going to get a different feel for it each time they change the training aids, and that's going to help them learn to be more effective with the kick. Next set, they're going to go 6 rounds of a 50 fly, 3 cycles of head up butterfly, each 25. And then the rest of the way is swim butterfly. And then the next 50 is head up fly plus 25 butterfly. Again, just trying to get a feel for that second kick and then trying to make that happen during regular butterfly as well. And then a 50 butterfly, they're going to descend the rounds, the odd rounds 1 to 3 and the even rounds 1 to 3, because the odd rounds are with fins, the even rounds are with no fins. And so when they descend, they want to make sure that that kicking action stays strong and they're able to create more speed as they go through it. So there's tons of different ways you can implement it. Ultimately, I found it to be most effective when you use training aids, when you keep the distances relatively short and the speeds relatively high. And then when they can do it in those situations, you can focus on learning how to sustain that skill, develop the endurance of the skill, and really start training it harder. So give that strategy a shot. And as always, keep it simple.